My beloved child. Before you decide to scroll away, pause for a breath and listen carefully, because what I am about to say is not meant to scare you, yet it is meant to wake you up. There is a reason this message has found you at this exact moment, and it is not random. You have been ignoring certain signs, quietly brushing them aside, telling yourself it is nothing, telling yourself it will pass. But some messages do not come twice, and some warnings are delivered softly, not with pain, but with silence. The body is gentle before it becomes loud. It whispers long before it screams. And right now, it is whispering to you. You may feel normal. You may even feel strong. Yet deep within, there is something that has shifted, something subtle, something easy to overlook, something that does not hurt enough to demand attention. That is precisely why this moment matters more than you think. Because the most serious turns in life often begin with the smallest signals, the ones we dismiss because they do not interrupt our routine. Stay with me, because the truth unfolds slowly, and every word you hear now connects directly to you. Listen closely, because what I am about to reveal is rarely spoken out loud. There is a dangerous comfort in feeling fine. When there is no sharp pain, no visible wound, no dramatic collapse, the mind convinces itself that everything is under control. But the human body does not work on drama. It works on patterns. Tiny changes. Slight delays. Unusual fatigue that comes and goes. Sleep that no longer refreshes the way it used to. Moments where your focus slips without reason. A heaviness you cannot explain. A restlessness that arrives without stress. These are not random glitches. These are signals. Signals that something inside you is asking to be noticed. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. The problem is not that people do not care about their health. The problem is that they wait for proof that feels big enough. And by the time proof arrives, the opportunity for simple answers has already passed. What you are experiencing does not need panic. It needs attention. Calm, timely, professional attention. This is why urgency does not always look like an emergency. Sometimes urgency looks like a quiet message delivered when no one else is watching. Now here is the part most people never hear. The body has a protection system that hides discomfort until it can no longer compensate. It adapts. It adjusts. It covers for weaknesses. That is why someone can appear perfectly fine while something important is being delayed internally. This delay is not punishment. It is a chance. A window. A narrow one. You are currently in that window. And windows do not announce when they are about to close. They simply do. This is not about assuming the worst. This is about respecting the intelligence of your own system. The smartest thing you can do when something feels slightly off is not to search for reassurance, but to seek clarity. A doctor does not exist only for crises. A doctor exists for moments exactly like this, when intuition nudges you and logic has not caught up yet. Ignoring that nudge is easy. Listening to it requires courage. And courage right now does not mean fear. It means responsibility. Responsibility toward your future self, the one who depends on the decisions you make today. Let me tell you something deeply important that very few people realize in time. Many conditions do not announce themselves with pain first. They announce themselves with changes in energy, rhythm, and balance. You may feel like you are functioning, but not fully alive. You may notice that you recover slower than before. That your patience is thinner. That your motivation flickers. That your body feels familiar, yet slightly foreign. These are not flaws of character. These are not signs of weakness. These are signals of communication. And communication ignored turns into consequences. Communication respected turns into prevention. This is the difference between reacting later and responding now. Seeing a doctor urgently does not mean something terrible has already happened. It means you are choosing not to let uncertainty grow in silence. It means you are choosing knowledge over guessing. And knowledge, even when unexpected, always gives you power. Power to act. Power to adjust. Power to protect what matters most. Stay with me, because this is where everything connects back to you. You were not meant to live constantly adjusting to discomfort you cannot name. You were not meant to normalize feeling slightly unwell, slightly tired, slightly off. Life is not supposed to feel like something you endure. It is supposed to feel supported by a body that works with you, not against you. And when that partnership feels even slightly strained, the wisest response is not denial. It is attention. Right now, your awareness is the key. This message is not here to diagnose you. It is here to remind you that ignoring early signs is never strength. Acting early is. Whatever has been nudging you lately, whatever thought you pushed away with later, whatever signal you minimized because it did not hurt enough, that is the reason you need to pause and choose clarity. The next step you take matters more than you realize. And this is only the beginning of what you need to understand. There is a moment when the mind senses truth before logic agrees. That moment is unfolding right now as you listen, because something inside you already knows this message is not accidental. You may not be able to name it clearly, but there has been a quiet shift in how you feel, how you move through your day, how your body responds to ordinary things. You adapted so smoothly that you barely noticed the change. Humans are excellent at adjusting, even when adjustment slowly pulls them away from balance. That is why people continue functioning while something important is being postponed inside them. This is not about fear. This is about awareness arriving on time. When the body sends early signals, it does not demand panic, it requests partnership. It asks you to pause, to listen, to acknowledge that everything is connected. Energy, focus, digestion, sleep, emotions, resilience. When one changes subtly, others follow quietly. And because nothing dramatic happened, you told yourself everything was fine. But fine is not the same as optimal. Fine is often the space where signals wait patiently to be noticed. Here is the truth most people realize only after looking back. The earliest stage of imbalance is often the most silent stage. No alarms. No sharp pain. No obvious disruption. Just a feeling that you are not fully yourself. You wake up tired even after rest. You feel drained after tasks that once felt easy. You notice small changes in appetite, attention, or mood that seem unrelated. These changes do not mean something is wrong in a dramatic sense. They mean something is asking for evaluation. A doctor's role is not only to treat illness. A doctor's role is to read patterns before they turn into problems. Waiting for certainty is comforting, but certainty often arrives late. Acting on early awareness is uncomfortable, but it keeps choices simple. This is why urgency does not mean emergency. Urgency means timing matters. It means the difference between adjustment and correction. Between reassurance and regret. Between clarity and confusion. Now focus carefully, because this part is deeply important. Your body is not designed to suddenly fail. It is designed to compensate quietly for as long as possible. It shifts resources. It reroutes energy. It masks imbalance with adaptability. That adaptability is a gift, but it also hides the moment when attention would be easiest. When people finally seek help, they often say the same thing. They wish they had come earlier. Not because the outcome was terrible, but because the solution would have been simpler. Less intrusive. Less demanding. Less exhausting. Early attention preserves options. Late attention limits them. This is not a threat. This is a principle. And principles do not judge. They simply operate. Right now, you are still in a place where listening changes the path forward gently. Ignoring it forces the body to speak louder later. Choosing a medical opinion now is not surrender. It is leadership over your own life. Let this sink in without resistance. Seeking professional clarity does not label you. It does not weaken you. It does not mean you are broken. It means you value precision over assumption. It means you respect your future enough to ask questions before answers become unavoidable. Health is not just the absence of pain. It is alignment. It is energy that flows instead of struggles. It is focus that stays instead of slipping. It is calm that comes naturally instead of being forced. When these things feel slightly off, that is not imagination. That is information. Information asking to be interpreted by someone trained to see what you cannot feel directly. Ignoring information never makes it disappear. It only delays understanding. And understanding, once gained, often brings relief rather than worry. Stay with this message until the end, because the meaning is still unfolding. You are not being told to assume the worst. You are being invited to choose awareness at the right moment. Life gives very few chances where timing works quietly in your favor. This is one of them. You noticed something. Even if you cannot explain it, you noticed. That awareness did not come to trouble you. It came to protect you. The decision you make after this message matters, not because something bad is guaranteed, but because something good is still very possible. Early clarity leads to calm outcomes. Late clarity leads to unnecessary complexity. Right now, you are standing at a simple choice point, even if it does not feel dramatic. And the most powerful decisions often feel ordinary in the moment. There is more you need to understand, and what comes next will connect every detail you have felt but never explained. There is a quiet truth hiding behind everything you have been feeling lately. It is the truth that the body never asks loudly at first, because it trusts you to notice the small changes before they become demanding. You may have laughed off certain moments, blamed routine, blamed stress, blamed age, blamed timing, blamed everything except the one thing that matters. Patterns. Your body communicates in patterns, not incidents. One strange day means nothing. Repeated subtle shifts mean everything. When tiredness repeats without reason. When clarity fades without explanation. When your inner rhythm feels slightly misaligned, yet not broken. That is not coincidence. That is communication. And communication ignored does not vanish, it simply waits. You are still early enough to listen without urgency turning into pressure. That is why this message is calm, steady, and persistent. Because calm messages arrive when there is still space to act wisely. Most people misunderstand what it truly means to see a doctor urgently. They imagine urgency only belongs to dramatic situations, visible pain, or sudden collapse. But urgency is often quieter than that. Urgency is when timing still protects you. It is when insight arrives before disruption. It is when a simple check brings peace instead of complexity. Doctors do not only solve problems, they prevent them from growing roots. And prevention does not feel heroic, which is why it is often postponed. But postponed prevention becomes complicated care later. Right now, nothing is demanding your attention loudly. That is precisely why this moment is precious. You are being offered the chance to choose clarity without fear, action without panic, and responsibility without regret. This is not about assuming something is wrong. This is about confirming that things are right, or correcting them while correction is still simple. Pay attention to this next part, because it connects everything. The mind is very skilled at normalizing slow change. It adjusts expectations quietly. What once felt energetic now feels average. What once felt calm now feels neutral. What once felt effortless now feels manageable. These shifts happen so gradually that you barely notice them until someone reminds you of what fully balanced feels like. Your body has been compensating for something small, and compensation always comes at a cost. Not immediately. Slowly. Gently. Invisibly. The cost is paid in energy, focus, and resilience. This does not mean damage. It means effort. And effort that goes unnoticed eventually demands attention. A doctor does not only look for illness. A doctor looks for imbalance before it becomes identity. That is why early evaluation often brings reassurance rather than concern. Understand this clearly, without resistance or fear. There is no weakness in choosing to be checked. There is strength in refusing to live with unanswered questions. Health is not proven by ignoring signals. Health is protected by responding to them. The strongest people are not the ones who push through everything silently. They are the ones who know when to pause and verify. Verification brings relief. Even when adjustments are suggested, they are usually simple when done early. Simple changes. Small corrections. Clear guidance. All of this remains available to you right now. The longer clarity is delayed, the fewer simple options remain. That is not a threat. It is a reality of timing. And timing is still on your side. Hold on for a moment longer, because this part matters deeply. You did not encounter this message by accident. Something inside you already sensed that it was time to listen, time to check, time to respect what your body has been quietly telling you. This is not about fear of what might be found. It is about relief in knowing where you stand. Knowing brings calm. Guessing brings tension. Choosing to see a doctor urgently is not a dramatic act. It is a grounded one. It is a decision made by someone who values their future clarity over present comfort. And the most powerful protection often begins with a simple step taken at the right moment. What comes next will reveal why delaying that step changes more than you realize. There comes a point when silence itself becomes a signal. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of something waiting to be acknowledged. You may have noticed how easily days pass while a small question lingers in the background of your mind. A question you keep postponing because everything still works, still moves, still functions. But functioning is not the same as flourishing. The body can perform while quietly negotiating an imbalance you never agreed to carry. That negotiation costs energy you never see being spent. It costs clarity you assume you lost to routine. And because there is no sudden interruption, you accept the new normal without realizing it was never meant to be permanent. This is how people drift away from their healthiest state without ever choosing to. Not through neglect, but through delay. And delay, when it comes to the body, is rarely neutral. Here is something deeply important that deserves your full attention. The body always chooses protection over comfort. It will shield vital systems first, even if that means sacrificing smaller signals that you could have noticed earlier. This is why many issues do not begin with pain, but with subtle changes that seem unrelated. A shift in stamina. A change in tolerance. A sense that recovery takes longer than it should. These are not random inconveniences. They are intelligent adjustments. And intelligent adjustments deserve intelligent responses. Seeing a doctor urgently does not mean you are late. It means you are early enough to work with your body instead of against it. It means you are respecting the language your body uses before it is forced to raise its voice. When people ignore early communication, the body eventually simplifies the message. Simpler messages are louder. And louder messages are harder to ignore, but also harder to resolve. Pause here and absorb this without judgment. You do not need to feel sick to need clarity. You do not need pain to justify care. Health is not a courtroom where evidence must be dramatic to be valid. It is a conversation. And right now, your body has been speaking softly, patiently, consistently. A professional evaluation is simply a translator in that conversation. Someone trained to notice what you cannot measure yourself. Someone who sees patterns where you feel uncertainty. This does not remove your strength. It reinforces it. Because strength is not proven by endurance alone. Strength is proven by wise timing. And wise timing is exactly what this moment offers you. The earlier the insight, the lighter the adjustment. The lighter the adjustment, the smoother the return to balance. Let this truth settle slowly, because it changes perspective. Many people look back and realize that the signs were always there, just never urgent enough to act on. They regret not because the outcome was severe, but because they lived longer than necessary in a state that could have been improved earlier. Earlier clarity often brings relief, not bad news. It brings explanations, reassurance, and simple guidance. It replaces vague worry with concrete understanding. And understanding frees mental space you did not realize was occupied. You deserve that clarity. You deserve to know where you stand instead of guessing. Guessing creates quiet stress. Clarity creates calm. And calm supports healing, balance, and resilience in ways most people underestimate. Stay present for this final part of the message, because it ties everything together. You are not being warned of disaster. You are being invited into responsibility. Responsibility toward your energy, your focus, your future days. This invitation arrives gently because it respects your intelligence. The choice to act now is not dramatic, but it is powerful. It keeps possibilities open. It keeps solutions simple. It keeps you aligned with a body that is trying to work with you, not against you. Delaying does not make the message disappear. It only postpones understanding. And understanding, when it arrives early, becomes protection. The step you take after this matters more than the thought you ignore. And what comes next will reveal why choosing clarity now changes the entire direction of what follows. There is a reason this message feels personal, even though no name was spoken. Truth has a way of recognizing the person it is meant for. You have reached a point where ignoring subtle signals no longer feels comfortable, even if acknowledging them feels inconvenient. That discomfort is not fear. It is awareness asking to be honored. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are simply being invited to check alignment before misalignment becomes familiar. Life rarely offers clarity wrapped in calm. Most clarity arrives after disruption. But this time, clarity is arriving before anything forces it. That is rare. That is valuable. And that is why this moment matters more than it appears on the surface. Understand this clearly, because it reframes everything. Urgency does not always come with chaos. Sometimes urgency arrives quietly, giving you the advantage of choice. Choice to confirm. Choice to adjust. Choice to protect your future self from unnecessary struggle. Seeing a doctor urgently is not about expecting bad news. It is about respecting timing. It is about choosing knowledge while knowledge is still simple. When you act early, outcomes tend to be lighter, smoother, and far less demanding. When you wait, even small issues require more effort to resolve. This is not about anxiety. It is about efficiency. Your body has already done its part by signaling. The next move belongs to you. Let this sink in without resistance or overthinking. You do not need to fully understand what feels off in order to take the next step. You only need to respect that something asked for attention. That respect is an act of self-leadership. Strong people do not wait for collapse to justify care. They act when insight whispers, not when discomfort shouts. The relief that comes from clarity is something people often underestimate. Even when adjustments are suggested, they usually bring comfort, direction, and peace of mind. Knowing replaces guessing. Guidance replaces uncertainty. And the weight you did not realize you were carrying begins to lift. There is one final truth that completes this entire message. Your future health is shaped less by dramatic moments and more by quiet decisions made on ordinary days. Today feels ordinary. That is exactly why it is powerful. Acting now does not disrupt your life. It protects it. It keeps you from adapting to a version of yourself that was never meant to be permanent. You deserve energy that feels natural, focus that feels steady, and balance that does not require constant effort. Those things are preserved not by waiting, but by responding at the right time. Stay with this feeling of awareness, because it is guiding you correctly. Nothing here was meant to alarm you. Everything here was meant to align you. The choice in front of you is simple, even if it feels significant. Clarity now, or questions later. Ease now, or adjustment later. Your body has already spoken with respect and patience. Meeting it with the same respect completes the conversation. And when that conversation is honored early, it often ends with reassurance, relief, and a path forward that feels lighter than you